Let's talk about something we've all experienced. Those strange, unwanted thoughts that just pop into your head out of absolutely nowhere. You know the ones. We're going to demystify those thoughts and figure out why, for some people, they just refuse to leave.
Seriously, have you? You could be driving, sitting in a quiet meeting, or just trying to fall asleep, and suddenly this bizarre, sometimes really unsettling thought just appears. It's a totally universal human thing, and we're going to break down exactly what's going on.
And we're not talking about fuzzy, abstract ideas here. These thoughts can be incredibly specific and, yeah, pretty jarring. That flash of turning the wheel into traffic, a sudden awful thought about hurting someone vulnerable, or that nagging, looping doubt, did I lock the door? I have to check. They can feel completely alien.
Okay, so here's the single most important thing to get right away. Having these thoughts doesn't make you weird or dangerous or broken. It just makes you human. Study after study shows that the vast majority of people have intrusive thoughts. The content of the thought is not the problem. So, if pretty much everyone has them, why do these thoughts absolutely ruin some people's lives while others just shrug them off? Well, it all comes down to the reaction. For most people, the thought is fleeting, but for some, it's like mental flypaper. It just gets stuck.
And this slide really shows you that critical difference. For most of us, a weird thought is like a cloud passing by. You notice it, maybe you go, that was weird, and then it just floats away. But for a brain with obsessive-compulsive disorder or OCD, that same exact thought gets stuck like superglue. It feels huge, dangerous, and it demands your full attention right now.
And that brings us to the actual diagnosis. OCD isn't about being extra tidy or liking your pens in a row. It's a really serious anxiety disorder where obsessions, those sticky, unwanted thoughts, create intense, overwhelming distress. And to get relief from that distress, a person performs compulsions, which can be physical rituals or even just mental gymnastics.
So what you get is this incredibly powerful and painful loop. The very thing a person does to try and feel better actually makes the entire problem worse in the long run. It is a devastating trap, and it works a little something like this. So it all starts with the obsession, that intrusive thought. That kicks off a massive spike in anxiety. The brain's alarm system starts screaming, danger, danger, do something. So the person performs a compulsion. Maybe it's checking, washing, praying, mentally reviewing something over and over. And for a second, there's relief. It feels like you just dodged a bullet. But here is the cruel paradox of OCD. That tiny moment of relief is actually the fuel for the fire. It reinforces a false lesson in the brain. It teaches the brain, see, that ritual we did, it kept us safe. That thought must have been a real threat. So every single time the compulsion is performed, the obsession gets bigger and scarier, and the whole cycle just digs in deeper.
Okay, so why? Why do some brains get caught in this trap while others don't? What's happening on a biological and psychological level? Let's pop the hood and look at the science behind this stickiness.
Right. Why does the brain's threat detection system just go into overdrive and refuse to stand down? Turns out it's a combination of a few different things.
Scientists have pinpointed three main culprits. First, brain scans show that certain circuits, basically the brain's danger detectors, are just hyperactive. They're too sensitive. Second, there often seems to be an issue with serotonin, which is a key brain chemical. You can think of it like the brain's traffic cop for thoughts. When it's not working right, you get these huge mental traffic jams. And third, and this is a big one, specific, rigid patterns of thinking end up pouring gasoline on the fire.
Let's zoom in on that third piece of the puzzle, these cognitive distortions. They're like wearing a pair of glasses that distorts reality, making everything look more threatening than it actually is. And they're exactly what that faulty brain alarm latches onto. When you're already feeling that unexplained dread from the hyperactive circuit, these thinking patterns give that anxiety a specific target to aim at.
And these thinking traps are incredibly powerful. One of the biggest is called thought-action fusion. It's the deep-seated belief that simply thinking something awful is morally just as bad as doing it. And that gets combined with a massive overestimation of risk and this crushing, inflated sense of responsibility to prevent any and all bad things from ever happening.
So, we've got a faulty alarm system and some biased thinking patterns. But here's the good news. The brain is amazingly adaptable. It can be retrained, it can be rewired. But the way you do it is completely and totally counterintuitive. Trying to fight the thoughts, or push them away, or argue with them, it just makes them stronger. It's like trying not to think of a pink elephant. The real solution is to stop fighting, to drop the rope in the tug-of-war,
and learn to let the thoughts just be there without reacting.
And the way this is done is through a therapy called exposure and response prevention, or ERP. It is the absolute gold standard treatment for OCD. The strategy is simple, but it is incredibly hard. You intentionally trigger the obsession, that's the exposure, and then you make a conscious choice not to do the compulsion. That's the response prevention.
The whole reason ERP works is based on a principle pioneered by Dr. Edna Foa. It's the simple biological truth that your brain's alarm can't scream forever. The anxiety, the distress, that urge to do the ritual, it's like a wave. If you can just ride it out, it will peak, and then it will naturally start to come down on its own. And by doing this over and over again, you are teaching your brain a profound new lesson. You're teaching it through direct experience that this alarm is false, that you can tolerate the discomfort, and that the horrible thing you were afraid of doesn't happen. You are literally rewiring that faulty danger circuit. So, what does recovery actually look like in the real world? What's the end goal of all this incredibly hard work? Because it might not be what you think. Is it a life where you never have another strange thought? A life where you're finally 100% certain about everything and never have any doubts? No, not at all. The goal isn't to somehow stop your brain from ever producing weird, intrusive thoughts again. That's impossible. The goal is to get to a place where when those thoughts show up, they have no power over you. They're just background noise. You can notice them, maybe give a little mental shrug, and get right back to living your life. As Dr. Jonathan Grayson puts it so well, the ultimate goal isn't just to feel less anxious, it's to reclaim your mind. It's about being free to enjoy the flow of life and to use all that creative and imaginative energy for things you actually want to think about, instead of having it hijacked by fear.